Hello and welcome to Sensitive Changemakers, the podcast where we celebrate the power of sensitivity and introversion in leadership, entrepreneurship, and beyond. I'm Kate Carter, your host, a certified professional coach, a HSP myself, and an introvert who's passionate about helping you embrace your unique gifts and lead with authenticity. I hope, as always, this episode finds you well. I wanted to do something a little bit different today. This is a conversation I have with a lot of people, clients, and just people that I meet through coffee chats and networking events. And I really wanted to bring this conversation here. And it is about books that have really supported me, both personally and in business, and ones that have really stood the test of time. Like ones that I've either reread and gone back to, ones that I still remember, like the key messages that I took away from them. I just wanted to share them with you because not all of us know about these books, and some of you may not have read them. You might want to give them a whirl yourself. You might have really strong opinions about them, and you might completely disagree with me, in which case I would love to have that conversation. I'm always prepared and open to have really good in-depth discussions about different things. And books is something I absolutely adore. So I do read a lot of books. I don't watch a lot of TV. So I have film night with my husband on a Friday night. But other than that, we have just started watching Severance. So we watched the first series of Severance and we're just now watching the second one and getting very frustrated that they're just sort of updating a week at a time. But anyway, that's by the by. Other than that, I really don't watch TV, but I do read a lot. I read absolutely every single day. And I read a mixture of fictional books and factual biographies, or I've just read a really wide range. So last year, I think I read something like 293 books, just to give you a context of how many books I read. Most of those are on my Kindle because I do have Kindle Unlimited, which just allows me to pick a load of various books because I read so much. That is the most cost efficient way for me to read. And then I do also have some books that I listen to through Audacity. And then there's books that I actually physically have in my house. We have bookshelves, a couple of bookshelves in our house because it was something that was really important to me when we moved in. I was like, I want books in my house. I want them on show. I want people to see them. I want my kids to just go up to a bookshelf and be able to pull a book off and read it. So you can see how passionate I am. Anyway, back to the context today. So two of the books I've got in my hand today, and one of them I read on my Kindle and then I listened to on Audacity. So the first one that I'm going to start with, and this isn't in any particular order, but one of the ones that I love is Atomic Habits by James Clear. So this one, and I thought, do I reread them? Because I've read Habits a couple of times. I've also listened to it on Audible as well. So I've read it and listened to it. And I thought, do I read it again? And I thought, no, actually, what I want this podcast episode to be about is actually what do I remember from these books? What still sticks in my head to this day since I've read this book? Because I think that's the important part, isn't it? It's the bits that we remember after time has passed. And that will hopefully then support you in deciding whether you want to read those books. So I have not reread these books, but I would like to share with you my kind of big takes from each of them and why I think they're fantastic. Now, every single one of them coincides with something that I believe in, which I think helps. Obviously, when you find yourself going, yes, absolutely, I agree. Those are obviously books that are going to stick in your head more. So that is sort of a caveat to this. Some of these things really I do wholeheartedly believe and agree in. So Habits are by James Clear. It's an easy read. It's a lovely, easy read. It's not complicated. There is research in there and studies in there, but it is very straightforward and easy to read, which I love. Some of the things I really took away from this, which I love, one of them was the power of small steps. Obviously, it is called Atomic Habit, and it's kind of subheading, if you like, is tiny changes, remarkable results. And I love the power of small steps. And I know if you know me personally and if you've worked with me before, you would know that I speak a lot about small steps for highly sensitives and introverts. and actually that the small steps over time really, really do compound to big changes. And so I loved the fact that James Clear was cementing that idea and actually backing that up with evidence. So that was my first big take. I loved that. The second big take that I remember from this was the power of creating new habits and how it makes it so much easier to do that if you kind of piggyback on a habit you already do. So, for example, and I use this in my coaching, I use this so much as a tool and as a tip to help people. So, if we're looking at introducing something new for one of my clients, I will look at what they're already doing on a daily basis and how we can piggyback onto something they already do. So, one client recently, we talked about what she could do while she was cleaning her teeth, because cleaning her teeth was something she was going to do every day and she wasn't going to forget. So, how could we add at that particular time with that particular client, it was a mindset addition, like a mindset practice. How could we add that onto her teeth cleaning time? And so I love that tip. I think it's really powerful, it's easy to implement, and it has a fantastic impact. So that was the second thing I took from that. And the third thing that I absolutely adore about Atomic Habits is the power of identity. And I'm going to butcher this because I'm physically not going to reread it, but there is a bit in here when he talks about there being two smokers and them both being asked if they wanted a cigarette, and they're both trying to quit. And the one responds, "No, I'm trying to quit smoking." And the other one says, "No, I'm not a smoker." And that really hit me. It still hits me now. I'm like, yes, that is the power of identity. That is a power of embracing a change before it has completely cemented in your life. And so I love that reminder that it's within you to create that change and to see how you see yourself to make that change easier. And I think that leads into, and it doesn't say it in the book, but in my head, it leads into that future version of yourself. What would she or he do in your place right now? If you had everything you wanted to, what would that look like? What decisions would you be making as a result? I think that feeds in really nicely. I've used it so much with clients that I've worked with anxiety and overwhelm, and in business mentoring as well. Like, what would it look like? What decisions would you make as a result if you were already that person? So I love Atomic Habits and James Clear. There's so many more fantastic bits of information in that book, but those are the ones that really stick in my mind. And like I said, I wanted this to be about what I remember so that you can see the parts that really stick in my mind, and then you can go and read it for yourself. So I will put the links to all of these books in the show notes, but I did love that one. The next one is, I don't think many people have read this one. I love this one. It's called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Aker. There's a huge amount of research in this one. And the back of it says, everyone knows that if you work hard, you will be more successful in life. And if you are more successful, then you'll be happy, right? Recent discoveries in the field of positive psychology show that this formula is actually backwards. Happiness fuels success, not the other way around. Um, and that is kind of the back of that. And I think that is so true. So, first of all, I love it because it's around positive psychology, which I have got a qualification in, and I absolutely adore anything to do with positive psychology. So, that was the first thing. I actually found this book before I did my training. And what I loved about it again is it removes a bit like Atomic Habits and the theme of identity. The same with the happiness advantage. It actually focuses and encourages you to see you as the power of change instead of giving it away to somebody else or something external. And it really encourages you to not see yourself as a victim, but to see yourself as somebody who can make change, whether that's atomic, like tiny changes, which lead to remarkable results, as James Clear says, or whether, like Sean Aker talks about in this book, whether you actually start to find that happiness within you first so that you start to see the success in the external world. And so I love this book because he's really talking about that flip. You know, we all think that we're waiting for those things to happen in the external world before we feel happy, before we feel successful. And actually, is what he's saying is the research shows that if you start to feel happy and you start to work on yourself, then you start to see those changes and those shifts in the external world and you start to see that success. So I absolutely love this. I also love it because it talks about the power of meditation, and the research showing that it supports and grows the left prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that's linked with being happy. Um, and I love just that focus that it starts with us. It starts from within. It's not an external job, it is an internal one. And we have the power all along. We have the power for change. And as somebody, I think, on a very personal level here, somebody who had a panic disorder for so, so long, this really speaks to me because for so long, and I'm talking nearly 20 years, I thought and believed 100% that I was trapped in my own brain, that I was trapped in the life that I had, and there was absolutely nothing I could do about it, that I just had to find a way to survive and manage it. And now, being on the other side of that, I've not had a panic attack in over 8 years. My anxiety is what I would consider normal anxiety. You know, everybody gets anxiety. It is not a generalized disorder anxiety, which is what I had previously. It is just, ups and downs of life. The reason for that is because of books like this, because of support that I got that actually taught me and showed me that my brain was, it was possible to change. You know, neuroplasticity is an amazing thing. Your brain changes. You can teach it new things. You can rewire your brain. You can light up different parts of your brain rather than the same neural pathways that you've always done. That information, knowing that actually I didn't have to stay stuck, that I could shift and that I could do the work internally and start to see the results of that externally was life changing. And that is no small feat. That was absolutely life changing. So I love those books that really put you in the driver's seat and show you that it is possible to change. So those are two of my books. Now the next one, I have a very, very special place in my heart for this one. I've listened to it loads of times, and one of the reasons I love it is because I love Gay Hendricks. So I could listen to him for ages. I love the way he talks. I think he's got such a relaxing, calm voice. And I recently heard him on my friend's podcast. So, like impressed and excited that she had him on her podcast. If you want to go and check it out, I will put her link below. So her name is Emma Louise Parks. She's amazing. She's fantastic. She has Ambitious Introverts, and she had Gay Hendricks on her podcast. And he openly admitted that he is an ambitious introvert, which I think is possibly the reason that I've always been drawn to him and to listening to him. And he talks about, the fact that he really had to build up his confidence to go and talk in front of people, and how much he would prefer to just write in front of his, on his laptop or his computer or whatever. He would prefer to write. And I could really relate to that. And I think most highly sensitives and introverts can really relate to having that alone time and just getting your thoughts down on paper. So I absolutely adore the guy. And his book, The Big Leap, I if you haven't read this book, go and read it, please. It's such a fantastic book. So some of the things that I take away, and again, I'm trying not to kind of flood you with different things here. He talks from a very human perspective. Um, he makes you see it so easily. Again, it's a very easy book to read. He really does allow you to see the small steps because what he's in effect talking about is quite complex ideas, but he breaks it down in such a way that you can just consume it so easily and you can digest it so easily. And some of the biggest things, and you would probably have heard these. If you hadn't read the book, you've probably heard the terms anyway. So he was the one that talks about your zone of excellence and your zone of genius. And he talks about the upper limiting problem or the upper limit. Zone of excellence, for those people who don't know, is really just what you do well, but you may not flourish in it. So it's things that you do well, but you don't have a huge passion for it. Like there's not a huge drive. Like you may stay in your zone of excellence because people know you're good at it and they want you to do more of it, but it may not be what you like dream of, if that makes sense. So that's your zone of excellence. Your zone of genius is where you could stay for hours and hours and you end up in that flow. If you've heard about that term already, it's that idea where time just flows through because you're exactly where you should be, you're doing what you should be, and it is your zone of genius. He talks about those two. Those are two very big things. He talks about them in such a better way than I have. So please do go read the book. But this upper limiting is the thing that really highlighted it for me. And I know, and again, I'm purposely not reading the book on this because I want you to know what I've remembered, but I'm probably going to butcher it. But he talks about quite early on, he talks about how his daughter goes away to summer camp. I'm pretty sure it is. And he's quite happy. She goes away and he has this feeling. And he's like, oh my God, what if she's not okay? What if she's not okay? What if? And he ends up ringing up the camp, and the woman on the other end reassures him and says she's literally just playing outside, like she's with her friends, she's absolutely fine. And she says to him, we have this quite a lot, you're worried, but she's not. And it's kind of that idea that, and he delves into it in so much more detail, but it's the idea that we we have so much understanding, I think, about when we feel bad or when we're struggling with something on that one end of the scale. But we don't realize that actually on the opposite side of the scale, we're not very good at holding that either. We have a ceiling of how good we can make something feel before it gets uncomfortable, before it doesn't feel safe anymore. And this is some of the ways that it can pop up. Like, you're absolutely fine. I've done it before with my kids. They've gone for a party with their friends, or they've gone around to a friend's house, and I'm just happily cleaning, a house, or doing some work or doing some meditation or reading. And I'm really quite happy and quite relaxed. And then I'm like, oh my God, what if they're not okay? What if they need me? What if they, and it's that kind of thing. It's like I've got to my ceiling of feeling good, and now I've got to bring myself back down. And that's the idea of the upper limit. It is, we all have our own ceiling of how much goodness we can let in. And then once we've got to that ceiling, our brain goes, no, 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 this doesn't feel safe anymore. We need to bring it back down to where it feels safe. And again, it's all to do that, survival, how our brains work in such a way. But I love that. And again, he just talks about it and explains it in such a good way. So do go and check that out. But Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap, is my third and final book. And I am going to talk about a bonus one. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. But the bonus one is one that I've just read, and I really, really enjoyed it. It is called Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. And as an educator, as a coach, as a leader, as somebody who is invested all of my adult life to getting the best out of people, to helping people unlock their potential, this was an amazing book. I loved it. Every sort of chapter, I took something away from it. It goes from education to sports to businesses. It talks about how the different ways that we can really tap into our hidden potential. And he talks about, I mean, the bit that I remember that I love, and that's probably because it comes from languages, and I love languages, generally other languages. I'm very much a linguist. I can speak French and Spanish, but I also just generally love language and the power of it and how we think and all of those wonderful things. But he talks about um, linguists and how they learn a language, and how the best way that they can learn a language is to talk it and not care about the mistakes that they're making. They don't have to be talented or gifted in learning a language. All they have to do is go and speak it and speak it and speak it and not care how many mistakes they make. He gives an example of one guy who wasn't very good at languages at school, but really wanted to go and travel. And he now has a goal that when he goes to a new place, his goal is to make over 200 mistakes in the first day, I think it is. And that shows because if he's making those mistakes, he's putting himself out of his comfort zone, which was one of the other big takes from this book, putting himself out of his comfort zone and stretching what he was capable of doing to something that was uncomfortable. And I loved it. So yeah, that was just one snippet of hidden potential. But if you do want to go and delve into that, I think it's a fantastic book to really learn about how you really can be the best version of yourself. And he ends it in such a way about dreams and whether you're writing about your dreams. And he was quite dismissive at the start, and then he talks about why that's even important as well. So do go and give that one a read if that feels like your thing as well. This was hopefully a quick roundup of some of the books that have really impacted on me. And as you can see, some of them really have impacted me because they mean something to me. There's something in there that really clicks with my values or my beliefs or just my take on things. And if you resonate with this, please do go and give them a read. I think they're all incredibly highly sensitive friendly and introverted friendly. And the only other one that I haven't really mentioned, which is a good book if you are highly sensitive, is Elaine Aron. Her books, anything by Elaine Aron, is always a good read. She's got a website. There's loads of blog posts if you're into kind of the more research and study orientated blog posts. She's a fantastic resource for learning more about being highly sensitive. So there, you've got two bonuses from me today. But hers is a fantastic book as well. She's got a great book out that talks about the highly sensitive person. She's also got one about highly sensitive child, and I think she's got one about parenting as well. But yes, do go and check her out as well if you want to find more about highly sensitive. She really is the expert in that field. Yes, I'm going to round it up there. I'm very excited. I do have some guests coming on over the next couple of weeks, and I'm very excited to share more about different things that we haven't brought to the podcast yet. So I'm really excited to share more about that with you. And if you are listening to this and you think, wow, okay, where do I go from here? First of all, go and check out the books. The second thing is all of these books in some way, and I haven't shared this yet, but it is a running feature through all of them, is the importance of social support, of whether that's surrounding yourself with the people that understand or whether that's surrounding yourself with people who you aspire to be, whatever that is. But there's an element of social support in every single book of this, and I do find it so true. The more I do, so for those people who don't know, we have the Sensitive Changemakers Circle, which is my free networking event, and it's different to other networking events. We meet once a month, and there's two different times that you can meet. And we don't necessarily have a guest speaker or anything like that. It is an opportunity for us to come together and just be ourselves and talk. And it's a really honest discussion. So sometimes it's really positive and we're talking about things that have gone well. And sometimes it is difficult and it is challenging because we're talking about things that were tough or that didn't go according to plan. But we're all very honest and open. So if you would like that social support from like-minded people, from people who are going to not only support you but lift you up, please do come and join us. I will put the link in the show notes. We do, like I said, we meet once a month, very honest, open discussion, conversation. And then we also had the Facebook group now, which is a new thing starting from today. And this is where we're going to have people do more kind of the training, the masterclass in the Facebook group. So the actual event is for very much a discussion. And then in the Facebook group, to support you throughout the entire year, we are going to have our guest spots within the community to start off with, of giving masterclasses and training, with the idea that we might bring some sort of outside support coming in as well. There's the opportunity to kind of share and to collaborate with people in the group, to get to know people better. So if that sounds like your thing, come and join it. So it is completely free. It's my way of giving back. I do think about ways that feel good for me to give back, and this is one of them. I do have a very clear idea of a movement now with sensitive change makers. I do want to empower more sensitive entrepreneurs, more sensitive leaders, more introverted entrepreneurs, more introverted leaders to actually embrace their strengths because the world needs you right now. We need more compassionate, more understanding leaders out there, whether that's leaders in your own business or leaders in corporate. We need you in the world showing us the way. So this is very much in keeping with that. How can I support, bring more of these people together, empower them, help them rise, help them embrace who they are? So do come and join us. I'm really passionate about it, as you can hear, and the link is in the show notes. So sending you guys so much love. I'll be back next week, And if you've got any questions, any takeaways, if you want to know any more information about anything I've said today, love a conversation with you. You can email me, you can reach out on social media, so please do so. Okay, guys, sending you so much love. Have a fantastic week. See you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you have any takeaways or any questions, please do reach out to me either through Instagram, LinkedIn or Facebook at Kate Carter Coaching, or you can email me at kate@katecarter.co.uk. I always love to hear your feedback and the things that you have taken from the podcast. If you know of any other highly sensitive people, then please do share this so that I can reach more and support more highly sensitive people to embrace their strengths and gifts. As a thank you, I will pick a winner every month for a free 50-minute coaching session with me. Thank you so much.